السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين آمين يا رب العالمين. أهلا وسهلا everybody. Welcome back to our Fiqh of Financial Transactions halqa. And we're going to go straight into inshallah review. طبعا last week we had a special halqa on the rulings on Halloween, etc. And inshallah today we want to go back to our fiqh of buyu', right? We were doing the fiqh of buyu'. Alhamdulillah, we're already past the halfway, alhamdulillah, so that's great. We're halfway through the buyu' and we're halfway through the book of fiqh, alhamdulillah. Last or 2 weeks ago, we went over three topics. We went over the topic of anybody? Daman, and the topic of kafala, and the topic of hawala. Ahsantum. Yeah. طيب. Who wants to volunteer to tell me what al-daman is? What is daman? When we say al-daman, and try to do it without your notes. What is al-daman? Daman. We said guarantee or guaranteeship. I guess if that's a word, right? To guarantee something. What do we mean guarantee something? We've got two people, okay? One person has taken a loan, right? And one person has loaned this person, okay? So the one who gave out a loan, he wants some kind of guarantee, some kind of collateral, okay? So that's where this daman comes in. So he says, well, how can you guarantee that you're going to give me my $2,000 back? He says, oh, no problem. I'll put my $2,000 laptop with you as daman, as collateral, okay? If something happens, I don't pay you on time, then you be able to sell this and get your money back. That's what al-daman is, right? Cool? And then we talked about kafala. Well, kafala is related to it. But al-kafala is a bit different because al-kafala, you're guaranteeing what? The appearance. Naam, ahsantum. In the kafala, the guy says, okay, well, how can you guarantee me that, you're going to come and actually pay me? I need to you need to come. How do I know you're not going to leave the country? Right? So he says, okay, no problem. I will bring you Abdullah here with me and he will be my kafil. What does that mean? Meaning if I don't come on the day of payment, he will come. Now, Abdullah is responsible to bring me. So his responsibility is to bring me physically, me, the creditor, okay, to the day of payment and to pay. Tamam? طيب, Jamil. So that's al-kafala. The third topic we covered is al-hawala. And it has to do with like debt, right? And we said al-hawala is what? Who can kind of explain to me hawala? You don't have to give me like a... Now. So how many people we have?
3 people.
We have 3 people. طيب.
Person A is a lender. Person B is one of the loanees.
Yeah, creditor, sure. طيب. Jamil.
Person B is also a creditor for person B. So the lender, instead of going to B, they can go directly to C.
Jamil. So we have 3 people. Okay. One has given somebody some money and that same person owes another person money. So instead of having 2 transactions, okay, this guy, okay, who is asking this guy for money, he can get it from this guy who owes this guy money. That's it. Okay, that's al-hawala. And we said that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, yani whoever is, he's recommended to get his money from somebody else, and that person is trustworthy. He's not muflis. He's not someone who's incapable of paying, and he's someone who can be taken to court. Someone who's mali, we said the word mali, right? Someone who is financially solvent and stuff. So that person, you should go. And we said the Hanabala, they said it's obligatory on you, and the others said it's highly recommended to do that, right? And we give a modern day example, right? Like we said, like those apps, like Splitwise and stuff, they do that. It's just, when you look at those ones, I showed you a hawala of 3 people. That one is like you can do hawala of like 15 people. So 15 people go on a trip, and he bought the barbecue, he bought the burgers, he bought this, he brought that. طيب, are we gonna like every one of them split the burgers between 16, split that between 17, and then everybody's gonna be like, transferring like 20 times? Isn't that like a pain? That's a pain, right? So what you do is the app figures it out who owes what, and it ends up being like 4 transactions. يعني والله أعلم. So today, inshallah, we want to talk about sulh. If you hear the word sulh, what do you understand from sulh? ما هو الصلح? Sulh. Huh? Someone's going like this. We rapping or to fix things, right? Like we say صلح, يعني he fixed something. صلح something, he fixed something, right? We have in the Quran, verses like what? Who gives it? والصلح خير. والصلح خير. طبعا الصلح it's جائز, it's allowed, it's يعني بالإجماع, Sunnah, Quran. Like the ayah you mentioned, والصلح خير. This was talking about who? This was talking about the husband and wife. طبعا when we talk about sulh, there's sulh between husband and wife, reconciliation, sulh between. We're not talking about that here. Sulh between husband and wife is going to come where? In Fiqh of Usra, okay, which is the fiqh after this. Yeah, okay. So Fiqh al-Usra is the big chapter or the big section after buyu'. So the sulh of husband and wife, the ayah there was sulh khayr. Yeah. وإن امرأة خافت من بعلها نشوزا أو إعراضا فلا جناح عليهما أن يصلح بينهما صلحا. Yeah, there's no problem that they try to solve the problem. أن يصلح بينهما صلحا والصلح خير, and sulh is better. Reconciliation is always better. Yeah. وأحضرت الأنفس الشح. Right. But the problem is that a lot of people have shuh. What is shuh? The greediness. Right. And then we have the ayah وَإِن يُرِيدَ إِصْلَاحًا يُوَفِّقِ اللَّهُ بَيْنَهُمَا. If both parties want reconciliation, if they both have an intention for reconciliation, then Allah will put tawfiq in that reconciliation. We have a hadith here. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, الصلح جائز بين المسلمين إلا صلحا حرم حلالا أو أحل حراما. So basically, الصلح جائز. This is another proof from the Sunnah. بين المسلمين. It's allowed and it's there and it's مشروع يعني. It's acceptable between Muslims. إلا صلحا حرم حلالا, except a sulh that has made a halal haram or has made a haram halal. طبعا that is not allowed in the Sharia, and that could be a type of kufr if somebody tries to do that. طيب, جميل. Okay, here we're going to be talking about though الصلح in the financial transactions. What does that mean? Like, we've been talking about loans, right? So let's go back to the loans and tamam. So I took a loan from Adib, right? I took a loan from Adib, and I still owe him that money. What if one day I come and say, hey man, Adib's like, hey man, are you gonna pay me tomorrow? Tomorrow's the payment day. I'll be like, what payment? What are you talking about, brother? You okay? What are you talking about? We never met. I don't know you. Okay? This is a mushkila. So now they have to go to a qadi, or they have to go to somebody, mediator, to do sulh between them. Okay? So, or maybe I'll be like, hey man, it wasn't $2,000. Okay? Or maybe I might say, tomorrow's not the due date. I thought it was like next week, right? So all these, this could cause problems, right? The Sharia, came and to reconcile between both of them. الصلح خير. There's ways to do it. Let's start, inshallah. So he says here, فصل في الصلح. نعم. فصل في الصلح. Reconciliation. الصلح. So he says here that يقول المؤلف رحمه الله والصلح في الأموال قسمان. So now when he talks about الصلح in the أموال, when it comes to wealth and money. So it's clear now, we're not talking about people's relationships and stuff, we're talking about money. فالصلح في الأموال قسمان. So how many types are there? 2. قسمان يعني 2 types, okay? And you will see that he'll talk about صلح إقرار وصلح إنكار. الإقرار is what? Is to confirm, to affirm something, okay? When I say إقرار النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم is an evidence, okay, of his in the Sharia, is when he affirms something, okay? Like sometimes in the hadith we use proof that he affirmed something. How does he affirm something? Sometimes he physically says it, and sometimes it's like him being quiet. Like something is done in front of him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he doesn't, because he's the prophet and he's supposed to correct if it's wrong. So sukut here is like iqrar of him, like it's affirming that it's okay to do that. Does that make sense? So al-iqrar. So for example, somebody says, Adib comes and says, hey man, you owe me $2,000. I'm like, yeah, it's true. I do owe you $2,000, but I don't have it right now. And I can't pay you tomorrow. Do you understand? So now the sulh comes. This is now where we try to negotiate, okay, well, what are we going to do? Yani, can you give me an extension? Or will you be okay if I give you only 1,000? That's where the sulh comes in. So this is iqrar. And then the second type is inkar. Inkar is the opposite, where you like, what's the right word to say? Decline? Huh? Deny, right? Yeah, you deny. You deny it. You're like, no, I don't owe you that much, or it's not tomorrow, okay? And then they try to find a middle ground to agree upon. واضح? Does that make sense? So this is what islah is. And the author will use words like mudda'i wal-mudda'a alayh. Al-mudda'i, and these are used in court, right? This is like legal now, okay? You will see a lot of this in the last chapter, okay, of qada and the judge and all those things, okay? There's a whole chapter on inkar. But al-mudda'i is the one who is, like when you hear words, when you go to a lawyer, the claimant or the plaintiff, right? هذا هو المدعي. This is the mudda'i, the one who's claiming something, okay? And the mudda'a alayh is the D word? Defendant, yeah, the defendant, right? It's good to know this because most of us will end up in court for some reason. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. طيب, جميل. So المدعي, this is the fa'al mudda'i, والمدعى عليه, and the one who is the defendant, there's a claim on him. That's why مدعى عليه, there's a claim upon him. طيب. So he says here, فَالصُلْحُ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ قِسْمَانِ. We determined that there's two kinds, okay? There is the one that is iqrar, affirmation, and the other kind is, right? Inkar, okay? Which is like denying or denial or declining. Jamil. Then he says, وَهُوَ نَوْعَانِ. Now he's gonna go to iqrar and tell you that the iqrar is two kinds. So we said there's iqrar, inkar. Al-iqrar is two kinds, okay? And it's, basically he's gonna tell you there's iqrar on the same jins and iqrar on a different jins. Iqrar on the same jins, you owe me $2,000? Yes, I do owe you $2,000. And then we try to find a reconciliation within the same type. Like I'll give you some type of dollars, okay? The other type is where it's like, yeah, I do agree that I owe you $2,000, but can I give you a watch or something? Or it's a different jins, okay? So he says, وَهُوَ نَوْعَانِ الصُّلْحُ عَلَى جِنْسٍ. Okay, this is the first one. And then he says, the second one, الصلح على غير جنسه. Okay, so let's read. وهو نوعان الصلح على جنس. Okay, على جنس الحق. مثل أن يقر له بدين أو عين فيضع أو يهب له البعض. Okay, so here he's saying that الصلح على جنس, it's on the same type. Okay, we're going to do صلح, reconciliation, affirming, okay, what was claimed. Okay, but the sulh is going to be on the same type. Okay, جنس الحق مثل أن يقر له بدين. He affirms a dain. Okay, so you owe me $2,000. Yes, I owe you $2,000. Okay. أو عين. It can also be عين. What's a عين? Eyeball or an object? Object, right? Eyeball. I'm kidding, by the way. Not an eyeball. An object, right? We said عين has so many meanings. So an object. عين means like an object in the books of fiqh. Okay. Except when you go to qisas, عين means عين. طيب. So an object, yeah. So maybe he might say, yeah, you owe me a car. Yeah, I do owe you a car. Okay. فيضع. Okay. فيضع. Okay. He decreases. يضع he decreases. He'll be like, okay, خلاص. Yeah, you do owe me I do owe you $2,000. Okay, and that guy will be like, okay, خلاص. I can't give you all of it right now. The guy will say, okay, خلاص, we'll cut it to 1,500. I only have 1,500. Okay, خلاص, no. أو يهب. إيش يهب؟ أو يهب له or he gifts him. The plaintiff is going to be like, okay, خلاص, I'll give you the 500, but just give me 1,500 back. You owe me 2,000, right? Yes, I agree. I owe you 2,000. طيب, I'll tell you what. The 500 is hadiyah from me. It's gift from me, but just give me the other 1,500. Cool? Cool. طيب. Okay. أو يهب له البعض, يعني part of it. ويأخذ الباقي, and he takes the rest. Cool? Makes sense. فيصح ممن يصح تبرعه بغير لفظ صلح. Here the Hanabila, they start getting technical. They say, and this is only allowed ممن يصح تبرعه. يعني the person who's allowed to actually gift and give personal gifts and deal with money. Basically the sane Muslim who's Rashid. Remember we said someone who's dealing with money. They said the condition for him to do sulh here has to be someone. Why are they saying this? What if it's a kid? Okay, يعني a kid, the left inheritance was left for him, and his older cousin borrowed $2,000, and now they're trying to do sulh. The sulh will have to be done by someone who's wakil or someone who's older than him, because he's not لا يصلح للتبرع. Okay, and he's not someone who's Rashid, who's an adult, who's considered someone that can deal with money, right? And remember we talked about the kid who is left with some money, some inheritance. Okay, if he's not Rashid, then there has to be someone taking care of that money. There has to be someone who's taking care of that money for him, and this is mentioned in Surah An-Nisa. طيب. بغير لفظ صلح. And they say, but you don't say sulh here, right? You don't say sulh. Why? طبعا here the Hanabila are going to get into technicalities. They're going to say, well, a sulh is a type of mu'awada. Okay, a sulh is a type of mu'awada, like a type of transaction. It's like a contract. Okay, so when you're going to give a gift or you're going to cut something here, they don't want to fall into the يعني منفعة, a manfa'a from a deen or something like that. If you remember, we talked about it could fall into riba. It's kind of semantics. يعني it's just يعني verbiage يعني. So they'll tell you هذا تبريء يعني أبرأتك من هذا يعني I freed you from this or I forgave you for this. It's not a sulh, because here the fuqaha are very technical. They'll say a sulh is a type of transaction, and this would not be allowed. Yeah, it's an actual transaction. But here, you would not call it sulh. So, بغير لفظ صلح. That's what they're saying here. بغير لفظ صلح. So the first condition is it has to be فيصح ممن يصح تبرعه, someone who is allowed to do tabarru'. Number two, it cannot be with lafz sulh. So you just say something else. Okay. مثلا هبتك, I gave you this as a gift, or I pardon you for this, but don't use the word sulh. Maybe some of you or the listener is saying, well, come on, like who cares? No, you do. It matters. If you've been to court, okay, people make lawsuits, they sue, they win cases on verbiage, on technicalities, on these kind of things. The fuqaha were very careful with these things. طبعا this is the Hanabila. The other madhab, they didn't really put too much emphasis on it, because it's like it's his money, and he can do whatever he wants with it. Okay. And then they say bila shartin, and also the third condition is that there's no shart. Okay, يعني they don't make it like a conditional thing. يعني مثلا you cannot. They say you don't say to him, I will pardon you the 400 if you give me the 1,600 right now. يعني you're making it conditional here, and we said the Hanabila don't like to make a condition when it comes to buyu'. They don't like those kind of conditions when it comes to buyu'. The Shafi'i and others, they've allowed it. But those are the conditions that the Hanabi. But let's read a bit from the slides. So we said a sulh, it's a type of contract to settle any disputes between two quarreling parties. It is of two types: affirmation and denial. Al-iqrar wal-inkar. Tamam. By the way, maybe I mentioned this before. I know for this might sound repetitive, but I do this intentionally for the English listeners, and also for those who can understand both. It's gonna stick in your head, inshallah. Tamam. So those two kinds. Jameel. So then he says, so in affirmation, when one of the parties acknowledges the claim made against him. Yani you claimed that you have 2,000. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I do owe you 1,000. And so the example here, Ahmed says Muhammad owes him 100, and Muhammad acknowledges this, but says he does not have the money right now. Right? That's why we need sulh, because he says, yeah, I do owe you 100, but I don't have it right now. Tamam. This is iqrar. He actually confirmed. This type can be further divided into two types. So we have the first type, reconciliation through the same type of asset, like $1 to $1. or reconciliation through substituting the original type of asset with something else. You owe me $100. I do. I don't have it. Here, take a, I don't know, take a phone cover or something. I don't know, something that's worth $100. Tamam, take my watch. Take my Apple Watch. My like Series 2 Apple Watch. I don't know what it's worth. طيب, Jamil. طيب, so let's talk about the first one. So reconciliation through the same type of asset. This is where we were talking about, yeah. So we said, example, Ahmed claims Muhammad owes him $100. And Muhammad acknowledges this, but says it's too much and he does not have the money right now. Then they both reconcile. So they're like, okay, Habibi, okay, can I? At the end of the time, they're negotiating. They reconciliate on $50. Or maybe there's a middle person. He comes and he. So because Ahmed agrees to exempt him of the extra $50 that he owed. So this is basically a type of sulh. In this case, the reconciliation is based on the same type of asset, which is dollar. So that's the first type of iqrar في نفس الجنس, the same type. For this type, the party making the claim against the other forgives or gives a part of the debt, but requests the rest. That's what we're talking about, right? So he can pardon, okay? So he forgives or gifts, okay? فيضع أو يهب, yeah. And then he says here, نعم. And then he says, this is valid with the three conditions we mentioned. It is someone from who it is valid to donate or forgive it away. And it has to be someone like who's sane, free, mature, and has authority over the wealth. Can't be مثلا a صغير, a walad, a صبي. طيب. B, number two is, it is done without utilizing the word sulh, reconciliation. Words like ibra or hiba should be used because the word sulh necessitates compensation, right? They don't want to fall into that problem of compensating the other person. And then the third condition, it is done without setting any conditions. We said you cannot say to him, مثلا, I'll pardon, I'll pardon this $50 here with the condition that you give me the other 50 right now. Okay, so you don't want to put it as a condition. طيب, Jamil. So that's the first part. Now, then he says, الثاني على غير جنسه. So now, right, we've got إقرار in the same type, and now the different type. على غير جنسه. فإن كانت, he says here, فإن كان بأثمان عن أثمان فصرف. So now he's saying, well, okay, you owe me $2,000. Do you affirm? I affirm. Okay. Do you have it right now? No, I don't have it. But I do have 2,000 US dollars. I don't have Canadian dollars. Okay, I don't have Canadian dollars. I have US dollars. The other guy's like, yeah, sure. US dollars, no problem. Right? طبعا here, what's the problem? What's going to happen? There's going to be sarf. So we have to use the rules of sarf. What are the rules of sarf here? So we avoid riba. They're from the same group. So remember, there's two conditions in total, which is they have to be equal and they have to be hand to hand. This is the maximum conditions. But in these two, do they have to be equal? No. What needs to happen? Hand to hand. Okay. Remember we said gold, silver, hand to hand. Okay. Because they're from the same category. We have the gold, silver, and then we have the everything else, salt and dates and stuff. Okay. So things are being traded within the same category. Sarf, which is you're exchanging currency. You can give 50 dinars for $10. You can do that, okay? But they have to be hand to hand. So that's what he says here, okay? فصرف يعني you have to now consider the rules of sarf, and we talked about them when we talked about riba. وبعرض عن نقد. عرض يعني meaning like an item. Okay, وعكسه فبيع. Okay, so now he's saying these are allowed. Okay, it could be مثلا عرض عن نقد. It could be like an item with money. Okay, and the opposite is also allowed. Money for an item. Both are fine. You owe me money and I give you an item, or you owe me an item and I give you money instead. All that is fine. Okay, that's what he's saying here, and it's considered a type of bay'. Now, let's read. So he says here now, the second type of iqrar, reconciliation through substituting the original type of asset with another. So example, Muhammad admits he owes 100 to Ahmed, but offers his watch instead as a settlement. Okay, I don't have $100, but here's my watch. Okay, He agrees? Okay, ما في مشكلة. If it is different currencies, then it should be immediate exchange. This is the يدا بيد, has to be on the spot. Okay. So example, Muhammad borrowed dollars but wants to settle the debt in pounds. This should be done immediately. يعني e-transfer on the spot. تمام. If the debtor offers an item for the debt price, okay, then the rules of a sale contract will apply, as discussed previously in other chapters. Yeah, because now it's like a يعني a bay', right? So for example, Muhammad borrowed 100 from Ahmed, and now Muhammad is offering an Android iPhone instead of paying Ahmed back his money. In other words, he is offering his phone for $100. Okay, same for the opposite, right? Ahmed borrowed the book from Muhammad, but now wants to offer cash for it instead, rather than returning the book. So both of those are allowed, as long as there's a type of sulh, there's a type of reconciliation, and it's jaiz, then it would be allowed. What if it's a type of service? Can you do a service? What do you guys think? But it would be called what? It would be called Ijara. We haven't covered that chapter. Ijara is like rent or paying for a service. Tamam? Like hiring someone. Okay? Yani someone, you owe them money, and then you're like, I'll pay it off with like shoveling your your front lawn for all of December. And then he's like, yeah, sure. Okay, that will be a type of Ijara. We haven't studied the rules of Ijara, so when we get to the rules of Ijara, you will know the rules. But yeah, you could do that as well. You could pay it off with a manfa'a, like a user fruct. So we're done now with al-Iqrar. We're done with someone who affirms, okay, something. And what about someone who now is going to be like, no, I don't owe you, or no, this is not the date, or no, it was not US dollars, it was Canadian dollars, no. So this is inkar. He's denying now, okay. So al-Qism al-Thani, على إنكار. طيب, so he says here, نعم, بأن يدعي عليه فينكر أو يسكت. So somebody, the plaintiff, the claimant, he says, you owe me $100. The mudda عليه, okay, the defendant says, nope, or يسكت, he's quiet. So he says no, or yaskut, he's quiet, okay? So this is what inkar means here. ثم يصالحه. Then they reconciliate, they find some kind of agreement, okay? فيصح. So this is allowed, okay? ويكون إبراءً في حقه. يعني now he's like giving up part of his حق. ويكون إبراءً في حقه وبيعًا في حق مدع. And for the other person, it's like a sale. وَبَيْعًا فِي حَقِّ مُدَّعٍ. And then he says, وَمَنْ عَلِمَ وَمَنْ عَلِمَ كَذِبَ نَفْسِهِ فَالصُّلْحُ بَاطِلٌ فِي حَقِّهِ. طبعا here he's saying that whoever knows that he's lying, okay, and it's not true, he actually does owe that money, okay, فَالصُّلْحُ بَاطِلٌ فِي حَقِّهِ. So the sulh is not no, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't count. Okay, باطل يعني it does not count in for his side and for his rights. تمام. طبعا when we talk about باطل وجائز, there's when it comes to qada, okay, we have to differentiate between the person and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and between like the judge and what the judge sees. So in terms of the judge, it's sahih. It's going to be sahih. Khalas, that guy agreed. But if internally he actually lied, then between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's something else. Or between him and that person on the Day of Judgment, it's something else. واضح? Does that make sense? And because now the person, he said, no, that's not true. Okay. But because he doesn't want any problems, because or he doesn't have the proof with him right now, he doesn't have the proof to show that it's not what he's claiming is not true. He says, you know what, just for the sake of sulh, okay, reconciliation, I will agree. But in his mind, that's not true. Or the other way around, the other guy is lying and he's like, oh, I got away with it. No, you didn't get away. You got away with it legally, but on the Day of Judgment, this would be batil, okay? And obviously, if the person proves that it's batil, then in the court it would be batil as well, okay? Let's read. So he says here, now, denial. The second part is inkar. So denial when one of the parties does not acknowledge the claim made against him, but tries to settle to end the dispute. تمام? يعني it makes sense. Like your neighbor keeps claiming that you owe him this much, this much. You're like, you know what? خلاص, this is my jar, whatever. خليها, whatever. I'll give him the $500 that he says I owe him. Okay. So he does that. Okay. He denies it, but he says خلاص, I'll do it, whatever. تمام? You guys see the difference, right? Like he's saying that it's not, I don't owe him, but for the sake of reconciliation, he will do that. Okay, because otherwise, what's going to happen? They're going to go to the qadi, right? And then to the court, and then a decision has to be made by the qadi. Right. So example, Ahmad says Muhammad owes him 100, but Muhammad denies this and says he owes him nothing, or he remains silent. Right? This is al-inkar. In this case, the following two things are taking place. The debtor exempts himself from the debt. Okay, he says no, I don't have debt. The one who borrowed, yani. Okay, he's doing this by either denying it or remaining silent. I know I don't owe, or khalas, he's quiet. The debtor tries to give something to the lender, okay, just to settle the dispute. Like he's had enough. The guy keeps asking for money. I don't owe him, but just for the sake of sulh, okay. Allah says, "Wasulhu khair." He's my neighbor, he's my brother, he's my relative. Okay, I'm just gonna give him, or we're gonna agree on something. Okay, sometimes a relative will say, "Oh, you owe me $10,000." What do you mean I owe you $10,000? Yeah, 20 years ago your wife did this to me. مش عارف, what are you talking about? You have proof? No, I don't have. The receipts are gone. And then he keeps bothering you, and then he's gonna like cause a problem. You're like, you know what? خلاص, I have 2,000 in my bank. You're gonna be okay with that? Okay, خلاص, okay. 2,000. Okay, better than nothing. Okay, خلاص, that's it. That's kind of like an example, maybe a contemporary example. طيب. If any of the two is lying, then the reconciliation is invalid. طبعا, we're saying between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be invalid for him. It will be taken back from him on the day of judgment. But if there's proof of it, then it will also be invalid. So that's pretty much a sulh. And sulh is طبعا in the more advanced books, they talk about much or many more things. But one of the things that's related to sulh is the neighborly property rights. Okay, so a lot of things that would happen is مثلا, you even here, like مثلا here, you want to, and this is something that many people don't know, that this is in our books of fiqh, right? And you want to build a house, you have to consider what? You have to consider your neighbors. You can't build six-story, right? Like here, if you want to build high, I think you have to, صح? You have to ask the locals. They have to get together, مش عارف إيش, permit, city, all those things, right? Why? Because you don't want to harm the neighbor. But maybe the neighbor likes the sun. The sun comes to his house, and you're going to block it now. Tamam? Or maybe you having 3 stories is going to make him feel anxious or something. I don't know, or less, or whatever it is, right? Right? And so the Sharia brought like a whole chapter on this, on حقوق الجار, right? So he says here فصل في أحكام الجوار, right? في أحكام الجوار, the rulings for the neighborly property rights. So, and by the way, in the madhab, he says here, this is interesting. He says وجيران الشخص, the neighbor of a person, على المذهب, according to the Hanabila, they say 40 دارا من كل جهة. 40 جارا من كل جهة. ايش يعني؟ 40 is what? 40. Yeah? 40 جارا من كل جهة. From that side, 40 neighbors. From that side, 40 neighbors. From that side, 40 houses. 40 houses. That's your jar. Okay? والجار ذي القربى والجار الجنب والصاحب بالجنب وابن السبيل. Subhanallah. The jar, this is according to the Hanabi, طبعا, this is important to note, that sometimes we just think that the jar is the right guy next to me, but the other guy, the second house, no, he's not a jar. طيب, so he says here في أحكام الجوار وإذا حصل في أرضه. Can you actually, before we read this chapter, can you tell me some issues that can happen between neighbors? Fence, yeah, always the fence. Who has to build the fence? Okay, this guy wants to renew it, this guy doesn't. Okay, what about trees? This guy's apple tree the apples keep falling on my thing. What do I do here? or his tree branch is like over to my side, okay, many things can happen here. Can I eat his apples? Can I, do I have the right to cut his branch? His leaves are falling on my on my lawn. Who has to clean that? A lot of things can happen. You have things like, what if they're like townhouses, or they're like, they're called duplex when they're stuck together, right? Okay, what happens now? If my roof is falling and because your wall is weak, whatever, do we both have to pay for it? What if we have to build a wall that benefits both of us? What about like the back alley? The back alley is gravel, right? And this is like breaking my car. It's hurting my Corvette. I need something smooth. Okay, who has to pay for that? Who has to pay for the back alley? Is it the city that pays for that? Here. Is it the city? It's the neighbors, right? Huh? Yeah. I think everybody in the neighborhood has to agree to do it, because there's a lot of neighborhoods that it's all gravel in the back alley, and some of them are like nice and paved, and So I don't think it's like. You think the city? Okay, we'll find out about that. But I'll tell you what 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 the Sharia says about it. Okay, what are other things, Yani?
Concrete is another one. Like if you
Concrete in the road, in front of your house. And here there's rules, there's law. You cannot extend, like if we wanted to extend this masjid, we cannot extend it up to the street. There's some laws and stuff. So this is what they're going to talk about, right? طبعا.
even a Sheikh even about the downtown masjid over 50 or 60 years of the life, the ground had shifted by quarter of an inch into the parking lot. So we had to get a waiver from the parking guys to say that the ground is shifted by quarter of an inch.
Ajib.
And they're okay with it. Otherwise, if they would say no, you couldn't buy it. You have to go cut the wall or demolish it.
Yeah, cut a wall in half, or cut a wall, shave it off. Keep until it's like. طيب بسم الله. وإذا حصل في أرضه أو جداره أو هوائه. So if something happens in his land, or جداره, in his wall, fence, whatever you want to call it, أو هوائه. هوائه يعني in his space. يعني هوا is like air, but like in his space. يعني okay. أو هوائه غصن شجرة غيره. Yeah, like غصن is a branch, right? غصن. Okay. شجرة غيره. So the tree branch of another person. Okay. أو غرفته, or like his room. His room is like he built over. He built over, or he put a tree over, or do you guys remember the story of I think it's Abu Dahdah and that kid? Yeah, when in the time of the Prophet there was this man who, I think he had a tree, and then there was this kid. He was trying to build a fence, and he couldn't complete it because of that tree was in the way. And the man's like, the kid's like, there's like a dispute, and the man wouldn't cut the tree. The person can't do his fence, and the Prophet said, whoever buys this tree will get a tree in Jannah. And then this Sahabi said, I'll pay you this much. He said, no. The old man's like, no, I don't want. He said, I'll give you my whole garden, or whatever it is. It was one of the biggest gardens in Medina. And so the woman was like, well, you joking? He's like, no, take it. Right? And so he went and gave, subhanAllah, all of that. Fi sabilillah. And the Prophet said, how many trees him and his family will have in Jannah, subhanAllah. So, this is part of Sulh. It's a very nice story, and if you don't know the story, check it out. So he says here, lazima izalatuhu. Okay, so now he's saying that if there's if someone is building something over somebody else's fence, okay, or like an extra room or something or whatever it is, then lazima izalatuhu, he has to remove it. Okay, and then he says here, وَضَمِنَ مَا تَلِفَ بِهِ بَعْدَ طَلَبٍ. So if I go to my neighbor, I'm like, hey man, you got to remove this. This is like bothering me. It's whatever. Okay, and he's like, yeah, whatever, sure, nah, okay. Then he just doesn't do it. Then I do it. Then I have the right to get compensated for that. Okay, if he doesn't give me the money, I'll go to the qadi, and then وَضَمِنَ مَا تَلِفَ. Or what if he did something, and then he said he'll remove it, and he doesn't remove it, then it damaged something in your, it damaged the land or damaged the whatever, okay? Then also, he will pay for that damage as well, okay? Because this is by his hand, something that he, the neighbor, did to your place. فإن أبى, okay, فإن أبى لم يجبر في الغصن ولواه. So he's talking about the ghusn, like if the ghusn of like a branch of a tree, you told him, hey man, can you remove it? And he's like, no, I don't want to, I don't have time, I'm busy, okay? Then he says here, لم يجبر, he will not be forced to remove it. Why? He says here, well, in the details, they'll say because it's not his action that caused the ghusn to come. Did the neighbor like tell or he made the tree branch go over to your side? No. So they say no, all you have to do, lawahu. He just kind of bends it over or ties it to his end. Or فَإِن لَمْ يُمْكِنْ فَلَهُ قَطْعُهُ. Then you can just cut it yourself. You told him, he's like, yeah man, but you tell him, okay, but it's bothering me. He'd be like, yeah, I don't have time to cut it. He'd be like, خلاص, I'll cut it. Okay, you have the right to cut it. And he cannot complain about it. Tamam? Because he's going over your space. But if you're a good neighbor and you don't care, خلاص, just leave it. Who cares? And my neighbor, his tree is like over, and the apples keep falling on my side. Okay? Whatever. Aslan, the squirrels eat them. We don't touch them. فما في مشكلة. You want to have good relationship with your neighbor. Yeah. فإن لم يمكن فله قطعه. Okay, let's read. Yeah. بلا حكم, فله قطع بلا حكم, without any blame on his end. تمام. So he says here, if a neighbor's branch from a tree, if a neighbor's branch from a tree comes into a person's land, wall or his space, then the neighbor must remove it. Okay. Similarly, if someone builds some sort of building on another's property, if you build on his property, then you have to remove it. If the owner of the property requested the branch or building to be removed, but it remained and caused some damage, then the neighbor or the builder is responsible for it. I told you to remove it, you didn't remove it. You leaving it there caused damage, you're responsible for it. Tamam? Pretty fair. In the case of the branch, if the neighbor refuses, then the violated owner of the property cannot force the neighbor to remove the branch. They said he cannot force him because it's not the neighbor who caused the branch to come over. It just happened by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? He should instead just bend it away from this property. If it's not possible to bend it away, he can cut it off. Even without a judgment from the authorities. And he doesn't have to go to the hakim, to the ruler, and do it. He can just do it himself, and there's no problem with that. This is because the branch is growing on its own into the person's property. However, if it is a building, then the owner can have the builder forcefully remove it through the authorities. This is because it is the builder's own doing. Do you understand the difference? That one, he did it. Huwa bana, okay? But the tree branch just moved by itself, okay? The guy maybe doesn't even know, okay? Sometimes what happens is you find like half a tree coming from your fence, okay? And the guy has no idea. He's not coming to your fence. He doesn't. So it's not something from the top, right? Because you would say, oh, that's obvious. But sometimes from the bottom, something is coming out, right? Like a tree. I don't. Ever happened to anybody here? No, only my house is weird. Okay, yeah, yeah. Like it's almost like a half tree. It's not like even like a plant or something. It's like almost like a half tree. So yeah, you tell him. I don't think it affects him at all. Does it affect him? It doesn't affect him. You just tell him, I'm gonna cut it. You cut it. Type. Jimmy.
But what if you put it very close to the fence? Like if you just plant it right beside the fence, the branches for sure can go to the other side. So is his fault in this case?
For sure it's gonna go. It can't bend this way. There are people who there's ways to bend your tree to grow in different directions. People who are in that field maybe they'll know more. But there's a way to like tie them in a specific way, and it will grow that way. You know what I mean? There's ways to do that. If he does it and there's harm, he cut it. But he's allowed to do whatever he wants on his own property, right? So, في احتمال, there's a chance that it grows to the other side. Yeah, there is a chance. Okay, and he does his best to not harm his neighbor. Then he says, ويجوز فتح باب. Okay, لاستطراق. Okay. And he says he's allowed to open a doorway or a passage, like for to go through. Okay, لاستطراق في درب نافذ. Okay, ضرب النافذ يعني it's like a public pathway. A public pathway, like a shari'. We say shari', right? You know, like you have a house and there's a public passage. You're allowed to open the door for that, okay? نافذ لا إخراج جناح. So now he's saying that you're not allowed to like janah, like maybe like a balcony or something, okay? So they're saying like you're not allowed to like just extend like some huge balcony like coming out. You know, he'll tell you without the إلا بإذن إمام. So لا إخراج جناح. So you're not allowed to take out like a wing or some kind of balcony. ولا ساباط. Okay, these are like really weird words, right? Anybody know what sabat? Sabat? No, not sabat like a shoe. Sabat. They say sabat is like a corridor, okay, or like a bridge. You know, like there's a house, yeah, like an overpass. Yeah, like an overpass. There's a house and there's a house, and so especially like back home, like the houses are close. And then like you want to do like a overpass, you know. So, huh?
Plus 15.
Yeah, plus 15. Yeah, downtown, you know. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like a plus 15, you know, here in downtown. Yeah, أو ساباط. He says here, وهو السقف بين حائطين أو بيتين. It's like the roof between two walls or two houses. Okay. فيمشي المار في نعم. Yeah, that's what it is. وميزاب. Another funny word. ميزاب. What's a ميزاب? أحسنت ما شاء الله. Is this used in Libyan? Yeah, mizab, yeah. Good, ما شاء الله. See, the Arabic language is preserved like piece by piece from different like mizab, yeah, like a gutter or whatever, يعني it's for drainage, تمام. إلا, so all those things he mentioned, the balcony, the sabat, the corridor, overpass, the gutter, and anything you can is analogous to those things that might bother other people, okay? You know, somebody wants to build like some kind of tent for his car or some cover for the sun or for snow, or you know, like here you can't just go build a garage wherever you want to. Maybe back home some places you can, but you can't, right? He says إلا بإذن إمام مع أمن الضرر. So except with the permission of the imam, yani the city basically, the ruler, the city. They here you go to get a permit, right? You go get a permit or whatever you ask for, okay? مع أمن ضرر, and to make sure, so two conditions, has to be permission from the imam or the ruler, and أمن الضرر, to make sure there's no darar, right? We have a big maxim in our 5 main maxims in Sharia, لا ضرر ولا ضرار. Yeah, this is like the shortest hadith to memorize. لا ضرر ولا ضرار, right? Like no harm and no reciprocating harm. Okay, and so this is the main maxim that is used here. So you have to make sure that there's no darar for the other person. Okay, and then he says here, وفعل ذلك في ملك جار ودرب مشترك حرام بلا إذن مستحق. Now he's going to talk about, but what if it's something that's between you and the other person? Okay, you and the other 3 neighbors. It's something to deal with 3 of you guys. Then you can't do it without their permission. Okay. Jamil, let's read here. So it is permissible to have, I think inshallah we'll finish by the adhan and then we'll pray early. It is permissible to have a door built on a property that opens to the main street. Yeah, he says يجوز ويجوز فتح باب. Okay. The main street is the street that is shared by everyone in the community. يعني هذا هو في درب النافذ, right? The following are not allowed except with permission from the Muslim leader and provided it will not cause harm. This is what we just talked about. A balcony, shade, or something else built that is connected to the house but extends onto the main street. Why? Because this is going to bother people. It's going to bother people. And it's you know, what if it's like too low and somebody has a truck and whatever, and it's going to bother people. Okay? In a lot of the third world countries, if you've been there, they do all these things and it hurts a lot of people, and they keep building. And like I remember in one of the old neighborhoods in Medina, they kept building. If you go back and look at the building is going like this, and you're like, this is gonna fall any day. Like the building is going like this, you know. In some places they'll just extend their like doorway and there's like no place for the car to drive through, and it's like فوضى يعني مش
Pizza Tower, what they call it, the Italian.
نعم.
It became the Pizza Tower, I think, the Italian one.
Oh, after yeah, the tower that bends over. أحسنت. Yeah, but that collapses, Allah المستعان. And it's a very crowded place, very crowded. طيب. So yeah, a balcony shade or something else built that is connected to the house but extends onto the street. So you need permission for that. An overpass or a bridge on the main street extended from the house, you need permission for that. A drainage system connected to the house that extends onto the main street. So you're gonna put like some drainage and it's gonna go and it's gonna like flood the street or something like that. And things like people washing their car, washing their madkhal and stuff like that, and the soap is like draining down the streets of people and going to their houses. Right, so there's laws, there's darar, so there has to be consideration for that. If it is not a main street but a street shared between two neighbors, this is where we just stopped, okay? It is not permissible to do any of the above mentioned in such a situation except with all of those neighbors' permission. So now we're going to be talking about like a street that is shared with someone, okay? So now you need, if all of the neighbors will agree, like, hey man, yeah, okay, Abu Muhammad, he's a handicap, matalan, and he really needs that elevator to be put there, and it might take away one parking spot, but whatever, يعني, we all love Abu Muhammad, then خلاص ما في مشكلة, okay? So you need the neighbor's permission. So وضرب مشترك حرام بلا إذن مستحق, يعني one who has a rightful share in it, okay? إلا بإذن it's حرام بلا إذن مستحق. وكذا وضع خشب, like a wooden beam. You can't just put a wooden beam, okay? He says إلا ألا يمكن تسقيف إلا به. He says you can't just put a wooden beam that goes over to the other person unless it's needed for the roof. Yeah, this is if I don't put it, the roof is gonna fall. If I don't put this here, the roof is gonna fall. Okay, so that's what he's saying here. So yeah, a person is not allowed to put wood on his neighbor's wall, okay, which he shares with. Yeah, this is a wall that we both share. That's why he's talking about permission here. This is a wall that we both share. And I'm not allowed to put like any random wood there, okay, on this wall, except he says with the following two conditions. So he fears that he will lose his own roof if he removes it, yeah? إلا ألا يمكن تسقيف إلا به ولا ضرر فيجبر ولا ضرر. The second condition, okay, so the first one, he fears that he will lose his own roof if he removes it, meaning removing the wood will collapse his own house. He needs the wood on the shared wall to keep his own house standing. Does that make sense? So, because this is a shared wall, okay? And because it's a shared wall, you can't just put whatever you want on it. It might harm him, he doesn't like it, etc. But he said, if you must have it, otherwise your house will collapse, then that's one reason. And it will not cause any harm to the neighbor. You have to make sure that it doesn't cause, putting the extra beam is not going to harm your neighbor, then no problem. If there's a possibility of any harm taking place, then the person will not be allowed to do so. Unless the neighbor is really nice and he allows him. Okay, or there's some type of compensation, right? He's like, khalas, I'll put the beam, but this is going to harm me, man. It's, I don't know. How can it harm him? Can you think of ways that an extra beam will harm the person? On his wall? Any construction guys here? We're all like normal guys. Huh? There's many ways, or maybe he just doesn't. Type of wall could be the. Of course, of course. But the same rules above apply if there's a mosque connected to the house. Yeah, meaning a mosque that shares a wall with someone's house. It's not common here, but like the Muslim countries, all of them are like that. For Riyadh, like all those, right? Usually the masjid has a house next to it, which is usually the imam's house, or they're all like attached. The same thing they're saying. If he needs to use the mosque's wall, and if he doesn't, his house will fall apart. He can put a piece of wood there or a wood beam to make it stand. Okay, so he says here, وَمَسْجِدٌ كَدَارٍ وَمَسْجِدٌ كَدَارٍ. And then the last part he says, وَإِنْ طَلَبَ شَرِيكٌ في حائط أو سقف انهدم شريكه للبناء معه أجبر. This sentence is like all over the place. But basically he's saying وإن طلب شريكه يعني, but in the middle he says في حائط أو سقف انهدم. So if one sharik asks the other sharik, يعني if one neighbor asks the other neighbor, okay, they're both sharing this this item, wall, whatever it is. He asks him regarding a wall or a roof that fell. Okay, like this roof fell, this wall fell, this fence fell. Okay, so he asks his sharik, للبناء معه. He asked him, hey man, let's build. This fence fell, and I like my privacy. أجبر. إيش يعني أجبر؟ يعني he will be يعني kind of like forced. Yeah, he will be requested or forced, politely requested, you can say that, to do that. Why? Because this is something that they're both responsible for, and it's something that is needed. تمام? And then he says كنقد خوف سقوط. And also he says also if one of them fears that this fence is about to fall, or this wall is about to fall, or whatever it is that they're sharing, it's about to fall or break apart, then he has the right to kind of to force him. وإن بناه بنية الرجوع رجع. يعني he says here, if he builds it by himself, the other guy is like, whatever, next week, inshallah, when I get my paycheck, when I get my bonus, he's just pushing it, right? He says, if the neighbor who requested it built the fence, okay, he says, بنية رجوع, okay, يعني he built it and with the intention to get the money back from him, he says رجع, يعني it's allowed, meaning he just kept ignoring me, it became urgent, I went and took initiative and built that fence, I have the right to go ask for the 5,000, which is half the 10,000, whatever the fences cost these days, okay? Then رجع, okay? And then he says وَكَذَا نَهْرٌ وَنَحْوُهُ. Nahar is a river, yeah. So let's say there's a river that give me an example where there's a river. Like farmers, they're sharing this river, مثلا, okay? They share the water from the river, okay? And then something happened to the river. Can we like say, that guy makes the most money, so he has to fix it? Can we do that? No, they say all the ones that benefit from the river, they all have to share in fixing it. If something happens, I don't know, something collapses, blocks the water or whatever it is, they have to. And so you can do qiyas on anything that we have nowadays. Let's read the translation, then we'll do some Q&As, and then we'll pray Isha, inshallah. If the shared wall between two neighbors collapses, then one of them can request the other to build it back up with him. If the one requested refuses, then the requester can force the other to build it with him. This is because they both are responsible for it and benefit from it. Makes sense, right? Like a fence. You think of a fence. The same ruling applies if they share the same roof and there is a fear of it collapsing, like a duplex or something like that. Okay? They both are responsible for it. Hence, if one of them refuses to get it fixed, the other can force him to do it. This is in reference to the houses that have a large shared roof and the wall between the neighbors to separate the houses. Forcing the other means getting the authorities involved to force the other to pay for his share. You don't go with your belt and you go to the authorities. If one of them gets it fixed on his own but intends to seek reimbursement for it from his neighbor for his half later, he may do so. Otherwise, it will be considered a form of charity. Meaning, if he intended not to seek reimbursement while fixing it, then he cannot seek it later. And depending on your niyyah, you intended to do it fi sabilillah, then after like 2 months, you got in a car accident, you need a new car, you can't go back and be like, hey, there's something between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the law here about fences? If the fence between you and your neighbor is falling apart, who's responsible? 50-50? And can you go like to like the court or something and be like, this guy doesn't want to? The lawyer will make the most money, right? Okay, cool. If a group of neighbors share a river for some use and it gets damaged in some way, then they are all responsible for getting it fixed. Therefore, they must all chip in. The same with other shared things like a shared water pipe that breaks and things like that. طبعا, here, some things the city takes care of, some things you take care of, some things the neighbors take care of. We were debating about the gravel thing. I don't know what it is. Somebody can look it up. But maybe the alleys, I think it's between the neighbors. Wallahu alam. because most of the places you go, they're really bad, right? And those who I guess they get agreement from all of them. I think all of them have to agree. Otherwise, those who agree will pay a bit more, right? If they're willing to do that. طيب, and you can use this يعني qiyas for any other things that comes between you and your neighbors, right? Whatever we missed. Obviously, this is just a basic introduction to the chapter of neighborly rights, but you can talk about anything, يعني, anything else that might be problematic between neighbors, like like noise and all those things, يعني that all goes into the chapter of sulh, all those externalities. طيب, questions. We have, I think, 1 minute till adhan. Let's do some questions and we can pray early before the تفضل.
About the first topic,
صلح. نعم.
let's say most of the cases we saw where someone owes someone, and let's say they are compensated with an item. Let's say I took $100 from you, and I cannot pay it, so I give you an iPhone. Obviously, the iPhone is more than $100. Isn't this riba?
Okay, so remember we were careful about the phrasing. This is where the Hanabila, they said, so he might, if he says to him, this iPhone is worth 150. So there's many ways this can go. If this worth, you owe him 150, okay? You don't have cash, and you have this iPhone, and he's willing to take it, okay? So if this iPhone is worth more than the actual loan or money that you owe, you have two options. You can give it to him and be like, now you owe me 50, okay? Or you can be like, this is worth a bit more, but hibtuka al-baqi, I'm gifting you the rest, okay? I'm gifting you the rest. This is not something preordained. It's not something. Remember, we said when we said about loans, we said if you pay back the lender, okay, what you owed him, and then you give him a gift on top, is that riba? We said it's not riba as long as it's not predetermined. تمام. The same thing here. Yeah. So good question. So any other question? تفضل.
There's a water source originating from one's property.
Water source originating from one's property.
Yeah, and the water source, so the river or whatever, it goes to the other person. So is it still considered shared? So if something goes wrong with the water source, can the person with the owner of the water source go to the next person and say, hey, time to pitch in?
Oh, so the water source is from one person, and it benefits the other person. Can you go to the person who benefits from it and tell you to fix it, and tell him to share into the fixing? Did he ask to get the water? What do you guys think? Do you guys understand the question?
I think if there's a ayn and then a river comes out of it.
So there's a water that's coming from my house, okay? Or let's say from my farm, okay? And it goes through his as well, and he benefits from it. Okay, the source is from my house. What do you guys think? Yeah, تفضل.
Is there a hadith that ownership and the right to water, fire, and something else is shared among all the Muslims? So ownership of a source of water, it depends on who was there and owned this place before, or who created the source of water.
Yeah, so he's saying that it depends who, is this was found there and you claimed it, or you dug up the well, مثلا, right? So, because if you dug up the well, you can own it. صح? You guys agree, right? If you actually dug up the well, you did the work, and or yeah, let's stay with water well. I was gonna say oil. No, just keep it water. You dug it, then you own the source, right? And the other person benefits from it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Does he have to fix it? It's not his. It's not his, but he benefits from it, and you allow him to benefit. But you said like a river. That's weird. I'm trying to picture if that's possible. Is it possible?
Yeah, the ayn is some land, and then the river is coming out of it. So you have a lake, and the river is.
The lake goes through your land, مثلا. But it's not. The lake starts from your house. You're a mountain, يعني.
You have
نعم
Yeah.
Ethiopia and Egypt هاي المشكلة. I'm thinking of a realistic example here.
There is an example, like you see what's happening with Afghanistan right now.
Mhm.
They own quite a bit of lakes and what have you.
Mhm.
Some of it goes to Iran, some of it goes to Uzbekistan and what have you. And they want to build some dam projects and they're redirecting water. And so it's their origin is in their lands, in Afghanistan.
Mhm. This is a river.
Yeah.
River in Afghanistan.
Lakes and rivers originate in
Mhm.
Afghanistan,
Mhm.
and the other countries share in the benefit of it. Like this is their source for irrigation and just water,
Mm.
drinking water and what have you.
Mm. And something it needs to be cleaned or something, or it needs to be, yeah. What do you guys think? It sounds like they should help, right? I'm trying to find this like a
That specific example, there's an agreement between them. The percentage of
Yeah.
ownership and benefit. So right now, what Afghanistan is saying is, we do not take our enough share from this, which is, I think, 40, 30 something.
Mm.
We need to benefit that much from it, and the rest is going still to the others. So the sulh is about the percentage
Yeah.
and those details. I think.
So this would go a bit more in the chapter of sulh. They would have to sit together and negotiate something to work out that everybody has to help, right?
More politics than the water distribution. Here, like so power
Mm.
and politics than
These cases are everywhere. Like, you guys know that like a lot of the pollution on Earth and stuff, the countries have to work together. Like that big pocket of garbage in the Pacific. Is it Pacific? The Pacific, صح? West of Hawaii. What's the ocean there? Huh? Yeah, like there's like an island of garbage. صح? I forgot what they call it, but it's like a big for some reason the currents all bring all the garbage there. And so like everyone's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like it's not us. But all of the countries that are causing that garbage, so anybody on that coast should be responsible for the cleanup. Because it's hurting everybody, it's hurting the animals, it's hurting the people. Yeah, you're getting plastics in the fish that's coming. We're getting harmed. We're here and all the way in Calgary, we're getting harmed because of that. They have to find some sulh. This is what would be the I guess the Sharia would say about it. Wallahu a'lam. We're good. خلاص, inshallah, next week we'll be covering the topic of al-hijr, al-hajr, which is basically when somebody his assets are like frozen. Why? Because he has debt or whatever it is. So inshallah, that's the chapter we'll be covering inshallah next week. I think only that chapter because it's a kind of a big chapter. Yeah, and then we'll talk about the mahjur alayhi. And yeah, خلاص, cool. طيب, بارك الله فيكم, جزاكم الله خير. ونراكم إن شاء الله الأسبوع القادم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم.